Kuzuzambo, this is Bhutan This Week. I'm Chunizuk Selden. Our top stories this week. His Majesty meets with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on a royal tour in Delhi. His Majesty the King concludes royal tour of the South before travelling to Delhi. Almost 500 tour guides clear TCB's readiness assessment, while more than 120 fall short. His Majesty the King arrived in Delhi on Wednesday and met with the Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi. His Majesty is travelling onward to the United Kingdom with Her Majesty the Gilton to attend the state funeral of Queen Elizabeth II.
His Majesty the King arrived in Delhi today and met with the Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi. Prime Minister Modi received His Majesty at his official residence at 7 Lok Kalyan Marg. His Majesty and Prime Minister Modi discussed issues of mutual interest and reaffirmed the commitment and friendship that has defined the special and exemplary relations that exist between Bhutan and India. While in Delhi, the Foreign Secretary and senior officials of the Indian government called on His Majesty the King. PBS News.
The UK's longest-serving monarch, Queen Elizabeth II, passed away last Thursday. Special prayers and butter lamps were offered across the country to mourn Her Majesty's passing. His Majesty the King and Her Majesty the Gilton, while on royal tour in the South, offered special prayers in Samtsi.
His Majesty the King and Her Majesty the Gilton offered 1,000 butter lamps at Samtsi today morning for Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II of the United Kingdom, who passed away yesterday. Special Marmit prayers were performed in a ceremony that was attended by the Prime Minister, government officials, and thousands of people of Samtsi. His Majesty the 4th Duke Gyalpo and members of the royal family were joined by foreign dignitaries and the cabinet in Thimphu to offer 1,000 butter lamps and prayers at the Grand Kinre of Tashichozong. The national flag was flown at half-mast today as a mark of respect to the late Queen. Upon royal command, special prayers were performed in all the important zongs, temples and monasteries across Bhutan. A message of condolences from their Majesties read, "In an incredible reign of 70 years, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II has inspired generations of people across the world. Through her tireless and selfless service to her people, Her Majesty will always be remembered for the wisdom, grace, dignity and strength she personified." The passing of Queen Elizabeth II marks the end of an era, and we send our condolences to His Majesty the King, the Queen Consort, members of the royal family, and the people of United Kingdom and the Commonwealth. Bhutan and the United Kingdom have shared friendly relations going back to the time of the 1st Duke Gyalpo, when visiting officers of British India offered the world the first glimpses of Bhutan and forged a lasting friendship that stands to this day. Since then, numerous visits by members of the British royal family to Bhutan and connections between the people of Bhutan and the United Kingdom have strengthened the ties between the two kingdoms. Samtin Dolkar, PBS News.
Before travelling to Delhi, His Majesty the King concluded a royal tour of the southern districts. Her Majesty the Gilton and their Royal Highnesses Gesi Jiminamge and Gesi Uyuwanchu accompanied His Majesty during the tour. His Majesty was also accompanied by the Prime Minister on the tour.
To mark His Royal Highness Gesi Ugyen Wangchuk's first visit to the south, Samsi Zongkok offered Kusum Thugi midday. While in Samsi, their Majesties offered prayers at the Samsi Shivalaya Mandir, which was built upon royal command as a gift to the people of Samsi from their Majesties on the royal wedding and inaugurated to coincide with the 60th birth anniversary of His Majesty the 4th Drugyalpo. Their Majesties also met with the people who had gathered to welcome their Majesties at Samsi's town square. His Majesty visited Thendu and Tashicholing to meet the Desups of the 52nd training program and granted audiences to the Samsi Zongkok officials and sector heads. In audiences to the Zongkok and Tomde officials and sector heads in Samsi and Phinsiling, His Majesty thanked them for putting in extra work and effort during the pandemic, but reminded them that we need to continue working hard in the coming years to ensure that the lessons learned from the pandemic are not wasted so that we can build a stronger future. His Majesty said that the pandemic has given us a new perspective and that we are able to move forward with a changed mindset. In light of the aspirations that Bhutan and her people become prosperous, as well as the realities of a rapidly changing world, we must be deliberate in our planning and agile as we solve issues and set higher targets for the country as a whole. Sonam Pem for BBS News.
The Yente Lebe of Shuntasa consecrated the Serto of the Jo shrine inside the Kichulhaga in Paro on Monday. The Serto, which had become old, was repaired and maintained to its full glory by Her Majesty the Royal Grandmother Ajikezang Chorin Wongchok. The Serto, since its installation, was refurbished and gold-plated once over 60 years ago by Her Majesty the Royal Grandmother's mother, Mayum Choing Wangmodoji. Kichulhaga is one of the oldest temples in the country, dating back to the 7th century. It is considered to be one of the 108 temples built in the country by the Tibetan king Songtsen Gyembo, who is credited with introducing Buddhism to Tibet.
Her Majesty the Great-Grandmother's mother, Mayum Chuing Wangmodoji, renovated the Serto with high-quality materials and zoom. It was gold-plated then. However, that was about 70 years ago. Time took its toll and the Serto became old. Then Her Majesty the Royal Grandmother, for the well-being of all sentient beings and for the country, decided to renovate the Serto.
Civil servants in the country are waiting for the RCST's plan of starting a clean wage system to materialize. Under the clean wage, civil servants are expected to receive a higher paycheck without any allowances.
The existing system of pay and allowances is found to be complex, with more than 25 different types of allowances. With some allowances taxable and some not, it creates an administrative burden and leaves room for corrupt practices. As per the RCSC's Annual Report 2021 to 2022, civil servants will get a pay package without such hidden benefits. Civil servants who preferred to maintain their anonymity on the ground of reservation they have because of RCAC's rule said the initiative looks extremely promising, while also suggesting a few other recommendations. One of the civil servants said, "The approach of the clean wage system looks good, but it is not making much progress. By the time it is implemented, ministries and agencies may lose all the experienced and good people. This will leave a vacuum in the delivery of public services for several years down the line. I can see many civil servants actually waiting for this change."
We see the wage structure of various civil servants and various other people in the corporate sector as well as the politicians in the National Assembly and National Council. We see that there's a huge discrepancy. Allowances and benefits form a major chunk of the wage or salary of a politician, whereas there is minimal allowances and benefits for the civil servants. However, I must add a few things. Allowances should not be removed. It should be streamlined. A person who is serving in a high altitude area, such as in Lunana, should definitely get an allowance for working in such harsh environment.
According to some, the plan will not see the light of the day anytime soon, as the economic situation of the country will not be able to afford this. But implementing it is expected to create a win-win situation for everyone.
There are too many allowances, and they say that, oh, their salary is so low and so inadequate. They forget about the allowances being granted by the government. So I think, in a way, if it could be consolidated, and it would be easier on all concerned. Why to all concerned? There will be less paperwork and less headache to the accountants and the civil servants themselves, so that they get only one package.
As per RCAC's report, the proposal is to first move towards payment based on a clean wage system and introduce performance-based incentives that support a well-functioning civil service later. The intention of this reform initiative is to ensure that civil servants who execute the most significant function of implementing development programs are paid equally for their work. As per the Finance Ministry, the Pay Commission is not yet formed in order to revise the structure of the salary, allowances, benefits and other emoluments. It is likely to be tabled only during the summer parliament session next year. Samtan Dolkar, BBS News.
When the country reopens its borders to tourists later this month, there will be at least 481 tour guides waiting to welcome them. They're the ones who cleared the recent tour guide readiness assessment carried out by the Tourism Council of Bhutan. The guides were assessed based on whether they have all the required documents and written tests.
From more than 1,300 guides who registered for the assessment, the TCB shortlisted about 600 of them. According to the TCB's Director General, those who failed to make the shortlist were because they did not have the necessary documents, including their tour guide license. He said the written test included questions of general knowledge, which more than 480 were able to pass. The Tourism Council says the assessment is to enhance the capability and competency of the guides and find out whether they were ready to cater to the visitors after a gap of almost 2.5 years.
Now, if you don't do this assessment, that means theoretically all these 3,000 plus guides are allowed to provide their services to a visitor, to a guest. But we cannot take this risk because, as I said, now the tourism has changed, the vision has changed. For example, we have even increased the SDF from 65 USD to 200. So therefore, the tourists that come, the visitors that come now after 23rd September will come with a higher expectation.
But he said the council will be carrying out another set of evaluations and assessment for those who have failed. The council is already receiving the documents with the written exam scheduled for this Sunday.
Those who have not got through, and plus even those who have got through, have to again undergo through this our new set of standard and certification process, which we are going to introduce in due course of time at the earliest possible.
BBS tried to interview some of the guides who did not get through, but they did not want to come on camera. According to one guide who has been in the profession for almost 30 years, he said he's happy with the assessment, although he was confused with his result since the questions were easy. Another guide who is planning to retake his exam said he was also in support of the assessment, but that he could not prepare properly for the first test. The Guides Association of Bhutan said they received mixed reactions to the assessment.
I was also told by some of them that if the refresher course would have been given it would be better for them rather than giving them questions which they never expected, and because of that also I feel some of them couldn't do well. Also, some of them also said that around 90 to 95% of the questions that were asked were relevant to them.
According to the Tourism Council, there are over 3,000 licensed tour guides in the country. Kyalzam Chodin, BBS News.
Bhutan will have its own rapid test kits to detect H. pylori infection in the next 1 or 2 years. The initiative is expected to complement the Health Ministry's flagship to eliminate gastric cancer in the country. According to the ministry, H. pylori infection is a leading cause of gastric cancer.
The test kits will be developed based on a rapid test kit which has already been developed by Japan. Although the kit will be developed in the country by the Royal Center for Disease Control, the Gesagebo University of Medical Sciences, together with the JDWNRH and Japan's Oita University, will carry out the research and testing. The project is expected to begin next month.
So they are going to bring the test kit, and we are going to test that test kit, the one used in Japan, in our population very soon. Then simply that Japanese expert will come here at RCDC and train our staff, and at certain point we will also take our RCDC staff to this company and then have a hands-on training to produce the test kit.
According to him, unlike the currently used test kits, the new ones will screen H. pylori infections through blood samples.
The rapid test kit is similar to the one that is used for COVID. The principal test is same, except instead of COVID virus, we will be using the H. pylori bacteria. We will have an in-house capacity within the country to produce this rapid test kit for H. pylori, which we have to continue for years to eradicate this and reduce our gastric cancer.
Besides helping the Health Ministry with its flagship program of mass eradication of H. pylori infection, it will also lessen the pressure on the government coffers. For the ongoing nationwide screening for H. pylori infection, the ministry has spent more than 100 million yultrum to import test kits, especially the stool antigen kit from the US. Kyalzam Choden, BBS News.
The WHO regional office says Bhutan is headed in the right direction in addressing mental health issues under the patronage of Her Majesty the Gyaltsen. The WHO office has committed to assisting the country's efforts in addressing this. The Regional Committee of the Southeast Asian region adopted Bhutan's proposal to protect and promote mental health as the Paro Declaration recently.
Mental health
We will focus on addressing mental health in line with the Paro Declaration. Bhutan is fortunate to be led by Her Majesty the Gyaltsen in addressing this issue in the country. The WHO will support the initiative through funds and expertise.
24 scouts, each representing all districts and 4 tomdes, started the trek along the ancient historic trail, the Trans-Bhutan Trail. Started from Ha last weekend, they will walk to Tashigan in 35 days. They are the first ones to walk the whole trail in 60 years.
Walking in the footsteps of their ancestors, these young scouts crossed Kalila between Ha and Paro today. The trail used to be the only connection between the two districts before the country started building roads.
Walking
this trail, I can feel how our ancestors struggled in the past. We get exhausted in no time even when we have nothing to carry. We can't imagine how they walked this stretch from district to district transporting essentials.
The 400-kilometer-long trail with breathtaking views has been unused since the 1960s. From Ha in the west to Tashigang in the east, it connects 9 districts and 27 geogs. People can cover the trail in about a month.
As today is the start of our journey, we are full of energy. The weather also favored us. Without rain or sun, we don't feel tired also.
Today is much easier. I don't know about how it will go from tomorrow, since we have to walk towards the far east moon.
The scouts will cross Pumula tomorrow and halt at Saluna in Thimphu. The trail running the length of the country is said to be more than 500 years old. The work to improve the trail began in 2019. Time magazine named the trail one of the extraordinary travel destinations in the world. And with tourism opening in less than 2 weeks, this trail is expected to host hundreds of hikers. For Karmongdi, Pukim, PBS News.
Hlendrup Minjurdoji is the winner of the first ever National Youth Chess Championship 2022. He represented the Youth-Friendly Integrated Service Center in Thimphu. He won all the rounds of the one-day championship held in the capital last week. 26 youth from 13 youth centers across the country took part in the championship.
I feel very happy that I won today, and in the future I hope to win more of the national youth tournaments and to become the best in the country at some point. And I also hope to continue going to the chess Olympiads.
He also represented Bhutan in the recent chess Olympiad hosted by India. He was among the youngest in the international tournament, featuring chess masters from 187 countries. While Hlendrup took home the winner's trophy without a dispute after winning all the 5 rounds allocated to each player, the game to decide the runners-up was nothing short of a spectacle to witness. After winning 4 rounds each from the 5 rounds they played, 3 players competed for the first and second runners-up places. A stalemate in the first round, and then the places were decided by cutting down the game time to a minute.
I'm glad after getting first from Paju and getting an opportunity to participate here. But in the tournament, it didn't go well like I planned. But luck is on my side and I won second. I'm so happy.
The Youth Center Division of the Department of Youth and Sport, in collaboration with the Bhutan Chess Federation, conducted the championship. According to Bhutan Chess Federation, such a tournament is an opportunity for the youth to get trained to feature on international platforms.
International masters, grandmasters and candidate masters. And further, they'll get the opportunity to get selected for the international competitions.
The initiative is also to make chess an integral part of youth engagement at the youth centers and youth-friendly integrated service centers.
National Youth Chess Championship is to promote professional chess in our youth centers and youth-friendly integrated service centers, so that more young people get the opportunity to play this chess and then benefit from it, because we are aware that chess actually significantly contributes towards enhancing creativity, critical thinking, problem-solving skills, and many others, especially in young children and youth.
The championship saw players as young as 10-year-old Siddhanath Bhandari. He says he started playing chess when he was 4 years old.
I got interest from my brother as he started playing in the age of 10. I really got interested in this game, so I started to play the basic, like learn the basic things of this game. Then I watched YouTube videos about how to play chess and the tricks and traps so that you could defeat other opponents.
Siddhanath is a class 5 student at Loseling Middle Secondary School. He gave a tough fight to Hlendrup, the champion of this championship, which is a reassurance that the future of chess is in safe hands. For Karmongdi, this is Sam Tendolkar, PBS News.
That is all we have for you this week. Thank you for watching. Take care and goodbye.